From tumor to triathlon. That sounds like a really big feat, doesn't it? To have a brain tumor and then to go on and compete in multiple triathlons. Well, that's exactly what my guest, Todd Sauder, has done and multiple times as well. If you've ever had a setback, an ailment, an injury, then this is the podcast for you to listen to. I find Todd's story so incredibly motivating and inspiring. I know you will too. Let's welcome Todd to the podcast. Todd Sauder is here with us. Welcome to the podcast, Todd.
Hi, Tracy. Happy to be here.
I'm happy that you are. I've thought many months actually of having you on, because I just love your story and I think about it a lot, especially when something happens to me and I feel like I've had maybe a little bit of a setback. And so often I think we feel like giving up at that point, right? We're like, well, this, we're not going to be able to continue with our patterns, with our habits, with our routines. So is there a point to keep going? And sometimes we just allow those moments to inhibit our movement forward. But you did not do that. And this is why I'm so impressed with your story. And I'd love to share it with everyone. So take us back, Todd. This happened a number of years ago. You had a massive medical setback, and I'd love for you to just paint that picture for our audience.
All right. Yeah, I mean, nobody expects to or wants to get sick, ill, or injured at any point in their life. And if I go back 7 years, I woke up one morning, 49 years old, December 2017, woke up in the morning. And I had had a dream, or so I thought. It was a dream that my face was on fire or it was being electrocuted. I woke up at 4 in the morning with like my face just like electrocuting. And I thought, that's the weirdest dream ever. Went back to sleep. Woke up in the morning, got ready for work. Everything was fine. My spouse and I were walking to work together. And she turned to me as we were walking and said, there's something funny with your face. And I said, I don't know how to take that. And she said, no, there's something like weird going on with your eye. And I didn't feel anything. So I said,
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I got sleep in my eye. I don't know. But all during that day at work, I noticed my eye was blinking slower than the other eye. And my face started to droop ever so slightly. And all through the day, it got worse and worse and worse. And so then I went to the doctor after work and said, hey, what's wrong with my face? And they said, Bell's palsy. Don't worry about it. So I went home and I thought this is weird because now I'm losing hearing in one of my ears and one of my legs is going numb. So I went and saw a second doctor the next day and they said, that's Bell's palsy. Don't worry about it. I said, yeah,
Oh,
but I'm going
yeah.
deaf and my leg is going
I
numb.
can't
And
hear you right now. Yeah.
he said, no, I don't know what that is, but you have Bell's palsy. So, okay. So then I eventually, a week later, got in to see my actual family doctor. And he said, I don't think that's Bell's palsy. You have to go to ENT. Went to the ENT. He said, I don't see anything wrong. You should go get a brain scan. I went to emergency. They said, I don't see anything wrong. And luckily, I had a friend, a highly placed friend in the medical system, and he said, you need to see a neurologist. We need to get a brain scan. And they said, you've got cancer in your brain, and it's not just in your brain, it's probably everywhere. And that
Uh,
began like a 1 week journey, if you'll call it that, in the hospital as they poked and prodded me. I had so many tests. And
mhm.
thankfully, my story turns out to be on the good side of things. That they
Yeah.
said, okay, we don't think it's cancer. We think it is a brain bleed caused by a cavernous angioma. A cavernous angioma is a miss, like a blood vessel that was poorly uh, created when you were born, probably. They're very rare, but it's even more rare that they burst and bleed. We think yours is burst and bled. So they went in with brain surgery, sucked out all the blood. Unfortunately, at that point, the nerves in my brainstem that controlled my ear and one side of my body had been crushed. So I was looking forward to being, potentially profoundly deaf in one ear and maybe having, balance issues, dizziness issues on the other side of my body. And at that point, as I was going through all that, I thought, well, first of all, will I ever kind of walk again? Because I had terrible dizziness. And then if I could walk again, could I run again? And if I could run again, could I do a triathlon again? I was sort of projecting forward, like what is going to be possible for me? And so I went through many, many months of not being sure of what was going to happen. And you brought something up really interesting in the preamble there, which is a lot of us, when we encounter disease, illness, surprises in our life, challenges, which we all do, we initially have an oh no moment. And a lot of us get stuck in the oh no. We get stuck
Mhm.
in the panic. We just get stuck. And what I did is I took my oh no and I held it and I said, yeah, let me just panic for a moment. Okay, I panicked. Now what? And that's been my mantra ever since that day, 6, 7 years ago, is always now what? The oh no is done. Let's just accept it. Yes, we're going to have times where we get shocked by something in our life. Hold the shock, look at the shock, accept it, and now what? Now what? Always try to, what can I do today, which is one half step further than I was yesterday. And that's how I started on my slow progress back to some semblance of health and racing and athletics.
Where does that come from, though, Todd? As you just mentioned, not everyone will be able to look at something like that and in a positive mindset say, okay, this is the cards that I've been dealt. Now what?
Yeah.
Where did it come from for you?
I have two theories. One is I've always been a fairly optimistic person. I think I'm just lucky in the sense that I don't like being stuck in a negative state. So I always have an optimistic bent towards me. So that kind of helps me move in that direction. But I have to say, and this is really weird to say because I've heard other athletes say this, up to this point, I've been about 20 years in the sport of triathlon, competitive as an amateur. And in that daily training and annual racing, I always encountered a surprise. I always encountered a challenge. I always encountered, oh no, this has gone wrong. Like always. It's funny because it's so predictable. And I think I just learned from all those years of training and racing and dealing with, you're going to encounter problems all the time, Todd. You can't just stop and worry about them. You have to move forward. Otherwise, you could quit and that's an option, but it's not an option for me. So I just always take that, oh no, and now what? And that's what propels me forward usually.
I love that so much. We had a sports scientist on the other day. His name's Eric Helms, and we were talking about people who late in life start sport or start resistance training, start working out in the gym. They often don't know how hard to push themselves because they didn't grow up in sport, right? They haven't trained really intensely in a way that they knew they were pushing themselves towards something more challenging. And that is a very interesting correlation there because you did that. You were involved in triathlete activity. And so you knew what it meant to push past that threshold of wanting to quit and stay in the game and push yourself. And so this was just, I love what you said. It was just like another obstacle. It was just another hurdle that you knew you could get over, but you had to stay in the pocket and keep pushing.
Yeah, and there's an element to this which is sometimes overlooked, which is it's the why. Like, why would I want to keep pushing? Because a legitimate response would be, I guess I've been injured. I guess I'm not for sport any longer. That's okay. I don't really want to push myself at this moment in my life. I don't have the emotional resources. I don't have the desire. That's fine. But that person has already answered the question, which is what are they willing to go through to accomplish whatever their goal is? And my goal has always been to stay in the best health I possibly can, despite my circumstances, to perform in my sport the best I possibly can, given my constraints, given my challenges. So I've already answered the why many decades ago. So whenever calamity happens or whenever challenge happens, I don't have to question. So why am I pushing myself through this again? Why am I getting up at 6 in the morning when I can't see out of one eye and I have a headache? And like, why am I pushing myself through discomfort? I've already answered that question because it's more important to me to be healthy, to live a long and healthy life than it is to avoid short-term pain. A lot of people
Mhm.
focus on their goals, which is great. I mean, you need good goals. But before you set yourself a goal, I think you really need to settle on why you want that thing that you're going after. Because in the dark of winter, at 6 in the morning, when it's cold outside and you don't want to train, you don't want to go to the gym, uh, you want to have that question. So why are you doing this? Already answered. And then it just makes it a function of discipline to do the thing that you're supposed to do rather than motivation, which really is unpredictable and not helpful for getting you out the door of doing anything.
You said many decades ago. So what was the catalyst many decades ago that brought you to this place of
Okay.
understanding what your why is?
Yeah, I'm gonna go way back to 18 years old. I was graduating high school. And our gym teacher took us to a bunch of local gyms to show us the facilities. And he said, I'm showing you these gyms because when you graduate high school, nobody is going to look after your fitness for you. And I'm going to tell you something really harsh. Most of you won't as well, and you're going to get out of shape, fall into ill health, and it's all because of your decision not to take care of yourself. And I thought, well, I don't want to fall out of shape. And he's right. No one's looking out for me anymore after high school. So I signed up like that week to a gym. And I haven't looked back ever since. I just realized, oh, it's all on me now. No one's going to be, scheduling 50 minutes 3 times a week to play badminton. Like I'm going to have to go out and do something on my own. So that's kind of where it's the realization started, where it was all on me. And then very strangely, I got into the gym. I was working out. I love feeling strong. And I said to my mom over breakfast one day, oh, I'm going to stay in shape the rest of my life. I love this. I love this feeling. And she went, oh, Todd, when you're 40, you're gonna realize it's not possible. You're not gonna look good in a Speedo at 40 anymore. And I went, I'm not? Why wouldn't I? Isn't it up to me? And honestly, Tracy, that little conversation over
Yeah.
breakfast put in my mind, why can't I be in good health or why can't I
Yeah.
be in shape into my 40s and 50s and 60s? I think it's up to me. And so the combination of that gym teacher saying, it's up to you, and my mom saying, I don't think you can do it. I said, no, I think I can do it.
Yeah. That is so powerful. Hey, like
Yeah.
just someone saying you can, someone saying I don't think you can. And just that 1-2 punch gave you everything that you needed to go, you know what, I'm going to prove everyone right now. I feel like I have that too. Like I often want to just prove the people around me that I am more capable than they think. Isn't that crazy that we want to do that so bad? I mean, I guess it's
Yeah.
normal. We all do.
Well, I've been thinking for the past few years how I can see in others how their upbringing, how their experiences have shaped where they are today, even if they can't. And somehow I thought I was immune from that. I thought I haven't had any weird experiences in my childhood that have really shaped who I am today. And as I got thinking about it, I have. We all have. We have these
Mhm.
unconscious biases. We have these things that somebody told us. We don't even remember what they told us, but somehow it's a belief that we have. It came from somewhere. And so, yeah, we all have these unconscious motivations. It's interesting to identify them and then decide if you want to own that belief anymore, because you're not a child anymore. So you can decide to give it up if you want or keep going.
That I love because that's so true, right? It writes on the slate of our lives, our past, our environment definitely does. I had a client too once that grew up with parents who did not value exercise and wanted him to stay inside and just read books and get really smart. And so he never did any of those things. And then later in life, He became a doctor and recognized the importance of moving his body and exercising daily. And it just rubbed against everything in his, past to do. It was not natural for him to do that at all. It was not an easy routine or habit. But exactly what you said, it's then the choice. And the choice is yours. You either will or you won't.
Yeah, it's about that decision and then educating yourself on how to get that thing that you've
Yeah.
decided you want.
Yeah.
Like again, to throw my mom under the bus one more time. Love my
I
mom.
love
But she
it.
said to me, she was in her, I believe, 50s, maybe 60s. This is going back again a long while. And she said, oh, I wish I could lose like 10 or 15 pounds or whatever it was. And I said, well, why don't you? And she said, oh, I went to my doctor and he said I can't because at my age, my metabolism had slowed down or my set point had dropped and I just can't lose any more weight. And I just stared at her and said, I mean, if I only fed you a slice of bread and some water every day for a few months, think you'd
Yeah.
lose some weight? Oh, Todd, you're being silly. And so she had a desire, but she'd been told it wasn't possible, so she didn't pursue it after that. Now, years later, she finally figured out, oh, it has to do with what I eat, and she lost all the weight that she wanted to lose. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's unfortunate that some people can get into our ear and tell us something not true, and we believe it. So that's really
Mhm.
unfortunate. I've had a lot of people say to me after they see me at a race, they'll say, "Oh, I wish I was in as much shape, as good a shape as you." And I say, "Do you? Like, do you? Because you can." And they, oh, I couldn't. I could never. I go, I'm telling you, you can. Well, no, because what's standing in your way? Oh,
Mhm.
I don't have the time. I go, okay, maybe legit, but I only work out 1 hour a day.
Mhm.
And they're like, that's impossible. I go, no, I only do 1 hour a day, but I do that hour like all out. That is a hard hour. And so, anyway, it's about education. If people
Yeah.
want to do something, they just have to educate themselves on how to do it.
Yeah. And it's just interesting, having these conversations with people that say, "Oh, I couldn't do what you do." But, there is no reason why people couldn't move forward with their own goals, in alignment with their bodies and their capabilities and all of that. But we tend to give ourselves an out, don't we? We tend to make excuses for why we can't reach something. Why do you think that is for people?
Well, it could be those voices in their head that they listened to when they were young that said that they won't be that type of a person or they can't be. You could be listening to lies that stem from early life. It's very, very possible. Um, Yeah, I mean, there could be a dozen different issues of why somebody, it could be they legitimately don't want the thing that they say they want. And I kind of try to help people understand you need to identify what you truly want. Don't choose a goal that somebody else wants for you because you'll
Mhm.
never stick to that goal. You need to find the things that you want. And it's okay to say, I don't want what you want. Well, then what do you want? Identify that. And once you
Mhm.
ask yourself the question, what do I really want? Do I want to be healthy because I want to be there for my kids or my grandkids? Do I want to be healthy because I intend to travel in my senior years and I want to walk up flights of stairs and I want to get around? Do I want to have more energy because I'm looking for promotion at work and I need to be really sharp? Whatever your motivation is or whatever your desire is, I think if you really like write it down if you have to, this is what I want, and then sit with it and decide, do you really? Like, is
Mhm.
that what you want? Because if you can really internalize the why you want that thing, then you can work towards setting goals to get it. That's not a problem. But I have
Mhm.
talked to a few people who they say they want something, but they don't really want it.
Yeah.
They want something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They want the outcome of someone else's life when they look at, someone on Instagram. I want that. But really, if you reverse engineer all of the microprocesses that it took that person to get where they're at, do you really want the whole process? Todd, after your surgery, you had a long road back, a long road to recovery. And one of the things I remember that you did was the grouse grind. And this is a huge hike in Vancouver area. And how many times did you go up that in one day? Was it twice or three times? I can't remember what the total
I
was.
did it 3 times during my recovery.
Which
Yeah.
is crazy, everyone. I've done it once and it's a hard hike. It's straight up. It's like you're climbing stairs for a good hour, and three times in one day you did it. And what was the driver behind that?
Well, that was my first real test of endurance after I'd been recovering for about a year. My dizziness had gone away. My right eye would only kind of half open. I was half deaf in my right ear, which is kind of still the same today, by the way, 6, 7 years later. I only have half my hearing in this ear. This eye kind of half works. I don't have as much numbness on my one side as I did, but I still had those deficits. And I thought, okay, here's the test. Can I climb grouse grind? Can I, so it's like a 2 hour hike up the mountain. Can I just do that? If I can do that, then I can go on and I can do greater things. This is my test. So I did it, came down and said, okay, I wonder if I can do it twice. That would be kind of epic if I could come back with 2 hikes up the mountain. So I did it twice. And as I was going up the second time, I thought, okay, if I do it twice, I can do it 3 times.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
did it 3 times, and then I went, okay, that's it. I'm uncle. I'm out.
Your
I
legs
proved my
must have,
point. Yeah,
yeah, you must have died the next day in your recovery, your legs.
yeah.
Um, so what was that feeling like? I'm sure, at the end of that third round, you get to the bottom, and what do you tell yourself inside your head?
I was almost in tears because I realized how far I had come
Mhm.
in 1 year. And a year prior to that, I couldn't even walk out my door to my sidewalk. I could walk for a minute, then I was exhausted. And for weeks, I would go for a minute, then a minute and a half, then 2 minutes. Then I could walk down the block. Took me like for the longest time. And part of my thinking was if I'm only able to walk to the end of the block in a month, I'll never be able to ride a bike or run. Like this is crazy. That was part of my thought process. The other part of my thought process was don't listen to that half of your brain. Who cares how long you walked yesterday? It's how long can you walk today? How long did you walk more, and how much more did you walk today than yesterday? Don't worry about looking too far down the road. So I always had these two parts of my mind, which is, will you be able to? And the other part of me saying, I don't know, but today you can. Today you can. So if you fast forward to that gross grind, I didn't know I could do the grind 3 times. I just said, well, I think I can. I think I can today. So let's just go for it. So yeah, I felt a lot of gratitude for how far I'd come. I realized my illness is nothing compared to what other people go through. My experience of my recovery is very personal, as is everybody's. Everybody has that journey with themselves alone in their own mind. And so, yeah, I just felt very grateful that it had gotten to the point where I felt like I could be sort of functional again.
Mhm. During your recovery, did you ever have a dark night of the soul moment? And if so, what did you say to yourself to move through that? Because I think a lot of our listeners have had that, right? They suffered an injury, maybe a loss, and it feels like they're not going to get past this. So how do you move past something that hits you so deep?
And maybe this is my optimism that shines through, but I thought I always had a plan B and a plan C. So I was aware that if I couldn't ride my bike again, if I couldn't swim or run, it, I love reading. And so I could always read and I love writing and I wish I did more writing. So maybe I could be an author. I just thought,
Oh,
what is my plan B? I'll be like an
yeah.
author. And then what if I couldn't, what if my eyesight's failing and I couldn't write or I couldn't read? Well, if I can at least hear out of one ear, I'm sure there's stuff I can do with one ear. I can listen to cool stories. I can, there's always stuff to do. So I always figure there's, if one door is closed, there's another door open. And again, the oh no's were brief, and then the what nows were I just felt like I have endless possibility, even if I don't get my plan A. So yeah, it was just that optimism shining through. I look at other people's stories too, people that say become a paraplegic, which I think is just, I can't imagine how debilitating and how limiting that must feel. Yet you watch stories of people who seem happier than me. I go, well, if you can have a life that seems pretty good, uh, why can't I have that life that's pretty good? So yeah, so I really drew some inspiration from other stories that you happen upon on YouTube or on any other social media sources, endless numbers of people that have worse things happen to them that happen to me and
Mhm.
somehow come out the other side feeling okay. So there's something to be taken from that.
For sure. Did you ever say why me with this?
No, because I've had other people in my life who've gone through worse things and who are younger, and why them? So
Mhm.
that whole why me question, it was almost like, okay, so this is it. Everybody has something happen to them in their life. Maybe more than one thing happens to them. I think it's just inevitable. So I guess I went, well, I guess this is my thing that I have to deal with. I was lying in the hospital before they'd really diagnosed everything, and I was 50% convinced that I wasn't going to make it. I mean, they gave me some pretty grim news at first, and I guess that's the closest I got to why me. It was more of disappointment. I was like, oh, I'm 49. I don't know
Yeah,
I'm going to make it much
yeah,
longer. That's a real bummer. I remember I felt like really disappointed at the possibility.
yeah.
But again, that was my oh no crisis moment where I just looked at it and said, well, you're not the first person to have something like this happen to them. So now what? That's always my, so now what?
I
Okay, now I go through the next exam. Now I go through the next test. Now I have the next conversation with the doctor. And and we just keep going day to day to day until here we are today.
I remember the day, or maybe it was the night before, you were going into surgery, and all of your friends, we all knew that this could be a surgery that you didn't come out of. Like that was a possibility at that moment. And I think Quentin called you. I think you had an opportunity to speak to some of your friends and had just the thought of that. I totally remember just the fear in my own heart for you, wondering how you would feel going into this, knowing that you may not come out the other side. But I just, from what I'm hearing this whole conversation so far, I just love the optimism that I'm getting from you and how much you just believed that this was part of the journey that you were meant to go on. Do you think everything happens for a reason?
Ah, it's a great question. I kind of find it irrelevant. Let's just say, yes, everything happens for a reason. Well, then, okay, so I don't know, to be extreme. So I lose my arm. Well, that happened for a reason. It doesn't make me feel any better. Like, whose reason? Why did it have to be my good arm? Um, or if it's nothing happens for a reason, I guess that's very, very down as well. Well, you posed a good question. I think a more, I don't know the answer to that question. So I go forward as if it doesn't matter. My reason for trying to push through is just the way I operate. And yeah, I don't derive, I guess, a motivation from knowing the whys behind it all. I just derive my own motivation and discipline from what I want from every moment that I've got breath.
Yeah, I don't really love it either. That everything happens for a reason. Like I think our purpose is to become the best versions of ourselves on this earth, regardless of, again, the cards that we're dealt and what happens to us and for us. Um, and yeah, I guess to get caught up in that little nicety, everything happens for a reason. Yeah, it sort of diminishes maybe sometimes the experiences that we go through. But
And maybe it's a
yeah,
function of getting older because I'm 57 now.
yeah,
When I was in my all the way up through my 20s, I was very self-focused. I didn't think too much about what was happening in the rest of the world. Right, I was living the dream. I was very fortunate. We are fortunate to be living in the country we're living at without war. Um, our lives are like so much better than a lot of the rest of the world. But I didn't really think about that. But now that I'm older and I see more what's going on in the world, I just count myself even more fortunate every day that I have the opportunities that I have, just socioeconomically, but even after my illness, physically, I'm in better shape than, I mean, Tracy, I'm now podiuming in my age group at triathlon. I'm faster at 57 than I was at 40.
that's
It
amazing.
really doesn't make any sense other than this discipline, this daily discipline to get out
Yeah,
there and train is paying dividends.
yeah,
But it's not lost on me that that I'm privileged. So I almost
yeah.
feel I would feel from myself personally just a little like I was wasting something if I didn't try to be my best. I'd feel
Mhm.
embarrassed that if I just kind of let myself go and just got
Mm.
lazy and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm in such a privileged position. I feel like I almost I owe it to humanity, I owe it to the world, to the universe, whatever that put me in this place to at least try
Yeah.
to be better a little bit every day.
Yeah. I read that you said it's simple consistency. Consistency. Can you talk to us about why that is such an important concept?
Wow, there's so many analogies that come to mind. You think about investing money as an analogy. Oh, what was the old adage? If you invested $1,000 a year from 20 to 27, something like that, and then stopped investing, you'd have $1 million by 65 just through compound interest.
Yeah.
But if you started investing after 27, you'd have to put that $1,000 in all the time, and you wouldn't even come close to the $1 million at 65. So that's the same thing I think of with health, exercise. It's these tiny little drips that you put into the bucket every day that don't seem like they're doing anything. It's getting out for that walk that you didn't really feel like doing, but you did anyway. It's eating half of the slice of apple pie that you had on your plate when you wanted the whole thing. It doesn't seem to make a big difference, but month after month, year after year, only then do you look back and say, wow, a massive difference has happened in my life because of those tiny little choices I made every day. So that consistent daily practice. I mean, it's drops in the barrel, but it all eventually counts for something, even if you don't think it does today.
Ovid says, dripping water on the stone hollows it out not through force, but through persistence. That's my favorite quote. I've quoted it a lot, but you said drips and it just triggered that because it's true. It's like all of these little elements add up to making you move the needle toward better health.
Yeah.
Todd, as we close here, there's probably some listeners out there right now who are encountering currently or who have encountered a setback and they just have not been able to get back on the horse. They haven't been able to motivate themselves to move forward toward better health. What is something that you could say to them about how to shift their mindset and get back in the game?
I think there's a few things you can probably do. I mean, depending on where you are and how serious you are stuck, don't overlook some professional therapy to
Mm.
talk to somebody and just say, hey, this is where I am. This is not where I want to be. I'm stuck. There's a lot of great advice that can be gleaned from a professional therapist to just help you understand those unconscious motivations, perhaps, that you and I were talking about, uncovering the whys you are or aren't doing certain things. And I'm not talking like years of psychotherapy, maybe even just a couple visits, 6 months, I don't know, not that long, might kind of get you over the hump to understanding why you're stuck and where you're stuck. Second thing I'd say is talk to your friends. Just be honest. If you've got a friend in your life that you can be honest with, that you don't feel that you'll be judged by, just throw your ideas out to them. Say, hey, I really want to do this. I feel stuck. What do you think I should do? How do you think I can unstick myself? You might be surprised or not to hear a friend give you some very helpful advice. And the
Mhm.
third thing I say is don't overthink it. Just don't overthink it. When I was recovering from what I thought was a potentially athletic ending illness, I just said, well, today I'm going to walk to the sidewalk. And tomorrow I'm going to walk to the sidewalk and then put one foot onto the street. And that's it. I didn't think much further than that. And every day was one step more. Yeah, don't get into your head and think that you've got to get to the finish line tomorrow. Just just get to the starting line today and then worry about it after that. So I think a lot of us get stuck because we feel overwhelmed. There's too much information these days, on the internet. There's too many things to think about. There's too many people making it, and I'm never going to make it. And you get all in your head. I'd say just figure out what do you want? Why do you want it? Put a plan together which gets you out to the sidewalk. And every day it's an incremental step. And as we just talked about, consistency will get you somewhere eventually. A little bit every day, little by little. Doesn't have to be a lot.
I love it. That is such great advice. Todd, thank you so much for being my guest today. It's so inspiring. Your story's inspiring. Todd actually has a podcast called The Lonely Triathlete. Todd, you've been doing that for a while now. What's the concept? What do you talk about in the podcast?
So this started off as a podcast about my recovery from my brain issue. It was called Tumour to Triathlon.
That's right.
And then after I got back into triathlon, I thought, well, that chapter's over. Now it's just about me talking about the everyday experience of an amateur aging triathlete in the sport. I don't talk to professionals. I don't talk about, anything too heavy. Just what goes on in my brain as I swim alone and bike alone and run alone most of the time. I'll talk about training that worked for me, training that didn't work for me, whether that fancy red light panel I got is making my skin look better, or maybe it's just a waste of money. Whether creatine in my coffee is a good thing, or coffee and creatine is a bad mix. I don't know. I looked it up on Google. All these things that kind of go through my head, and nobody wants to listen to me. Well, I have an audience that listens to the Lonely Triathlete that listens to me, so I'm thankful for
There
that.
you go. We always we need our audiences to listen to us at least.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was so great. Thank you so much. I don't think you're super active on social media. Do you have an account for your Lonely Triathlete? That's not you, right?
No, I haven't really
Yeah.
done that.
But you can find Todd at the Lonely Triathlete anywhere you stream your podcasts. So make sure that you follow along if you're looking for more inspiration. Like I said, you inspire me, and I thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you, Tracy.
Now, to all of you, go move daily in your fitness, your wellness, and nutrition, and we'll see you all in the next Move Daily Talks.